I'm going to tell one thing. I remember, I think in 2020, I was trying out for a lot of companies to, specifically I think startups. And I would not get into the, I think like 15, 20 applications I put down, and all of them would send me out like, you are probably very young, like I'm not graduated yet, you do not have a certain degree, I do not have an experience. But then I believe if you have like a really, really good passion and you are able to show it in public, then that company can take you as an exceptional case and, bring you to the, let's say the product or whatever side you're trying to work in, they can definitely accept you. So one major thing I've always said is like learn and build in public. Even if you're learning anything, put it out. If you're building something, put it out, because your work will act as a proof. Even if you do not have a job or you're not working in a certain position, you have your things sorted up in public. People can vouch for you based on that. Just like, let's say you are working in public, you are collaborating with other developers or other people in the community, you are bringing the good out of them. So one day, some person can come and recommend you that this guy is doing super, super good, and he has really good communication skills, developer skills, right? So that's how things work. Let your work do the networking. You can always network with like limited people in limited time, but your work is like, the more you do it in public, it will multiply. Other people will also help you out.
So first, thank you for giving your time, Vanshika. So yeah, I know you are really busy, like you are an undergrad student and as well as doing a lot of community work as well. But yeah, thank you for giving this your time for this podcast. So yeah, like a little bit introduction about yourself to audience, and I just want to know more about yourself. So just introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, folks who are watching me right now on YouTube. I'm Vanshika Srivastava. I come from a non-technical background, which is commerce, and I'm currently pursuing a hybrid degree in business administration and information technology. Apart from that, I've been really active in open source and the community work from past 1.5 years. That's when the pandemic hit also. So I got a lot of time. I started working in the community, and I gained, you can say, interest in the community stuff. I love developer relations and developer advocacy, and slowly started creating content over Twitter also, which gave me a boost to be an open source advocate, help out projects, help out people to get started with their own technical journey when they are not from a certain background. So yeah, that's pretty much about me and about my work. I work in a US-based startup named Weaver. It ends with VR. So it's basically an active learning community platform that we are building. And yeah, there are a lot of good things that people can check out if they are interested in making a community, or they would like to give mentorships, or they would like to have mentorships also. So that's my core thing. I work as a community and product advocate there. So yeah, a full-timer and managing my study. I'm going to graduate soon, but yeah, 1 year of education still left.
Yeah, really cool. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you're just doing, Vanshika. Really great.
I did not catch you.
So into that like technical stuff, doing technical thing without degree, right? You just mentioned that.
Yes,
Tech without degree.
Yeah.
So just want to know about that particular part. So
okay,
how you just started.
How the thing started, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a funny thing actually to tell. I have been coding since the age of 14. I cannot count HTML in that for sure. There would be a huge, fight on the comment section or so. But then, yeah, I was practicing HTML as a part of the CS class, and then eventually started figuring out the high-level languages, which is where I ended up knowing Python, and that is still my favorite language up to date. So learned Python at the age of 14, then did Java, and over that DBMS. So the interest of creating something kept on growing. But then at the same time, while I was like reaching my +2, everyone was like, you have to select your course, right? And you would have to either take maths or science. Commerce and arts is not really a good option in India. It's not considered really.
Yeah.
But luckily enough, what I felt is that, the management skills that a person carries is given by our commerce course in the +2s. So I wanted to really take up that thing and explore management side of things, and did not want to leave tech also. So I chose commerce with IT in my +2, and then chose BBA in information technology as my degree. So the idea was to not leave your passion behind, and also not to connect it with a degree. If you like something, and now it's like 21st century, remote work culture is here to stay for a very long period of time. people want to have diverse background for any of the roles that they are having, and specifically startups, they want to have this fresh talent. Like you can say, if you're coming from a certain background and then you are doing a career switch, that's really good for them because they get to have a multiple, like you can say, diverse background. So you can teach or you can learn something at startup, and apart from that, you have a degree which is like around something that you want to actually study. So what people think is that if they wanted to take technical things, they have to go for an engineering degree, which is not very necessary. Having a degree could be, again, that's my perception to look at, that you should have a paper or a degree, something to show for your verification if you need it in the higher time. But apart from that, if you're not from an engineering background or from certain civil, whatever it is, it's completely all right. You're still a valid person in the society, and you can still make it to the technical companies.
Yeah, that's really a great journey, Vanshika, like you just shared. And also I just believe that, so it's not about tech, so whatever maybe the background you are from, like you should have the enthusiasm to learn and just work. Yeah, that's really great. That's really great. So yeah, like why you just choosing DevRel? Look, what interested you to choose, like to go into this path, or like a DevRel, or let's say community manager? Yeah.
Okay, so this is a thing. Most of the time when we like doing something, we do not know we are doing it. Like you do not have an actual term for it. Let's say someone started sketching, painting. They cannot really put it that they want to do or they want to become a teacher in that particular field. They're just doing it as a part of passion. So when I actually started working in the community segment of things, I enjoyed that thing of, creating events, driving those things. And we are talking about growth, adoption of a particular tool. So I worked into a startup previously, Avial itself, and I was already in developer relations, like how the things looked in that particular system. So the good part about this particular role, developer marketing, is that not only you can put your developer skills into it, but you can also put your community management, let's say even the marketing of the product. That all things came together for me. And I did not realize when I was doing it. So I was very active in the CNCF community. And I was helping out other people to get started in the cloud native ecosystem. And eventually I realized that, okay, I'm doing developer relations. I'm also seeing the code, but I'm also not just focused upon the development side of things. I am looking at the community. I enjoy talking to them. So if you're a person who is really into management side of things, like engineering management side of things, want to manage the product, want to manage the community, but you also enjoy the development, that is where you can feel that you are probably into developer market or you're into developer advocacy or relations. So my interest was not planned at all. I have always said this, the earlier you start, the more mistakes you'll make. And that mistakes are really good because you get to explore a lot of things. So it's completely all right if in the first go, you do not land an internship, which makes you feel that, okay, this is something you want to do for a very long period of time. And based on that, you can definitely find something that, okay, one thing ruled out of your list that this is not made for you, right? So when I was doing development for a long period of time, I would say 3-4 years, like coding rigorously, I realized that I am missing a part of me. Like I was happy doing the development, the code is running, it's great, but then I do not have a community, I do not have a product to talk about. And when I landed a startup internship, I got to meet other people, and you have to wear multiple hats in the startup also. And that's same with the developer person also. So that's when I realized that, okay, this is something new and I'm enjoying whatever hats I'm wearing. So that's how I realized that DevRel is the space for me. I tried stuff in there, and I also mentored other people to how to get into developer relations or how to drive DevRel programs in your own companies. So that's how.
Yeah, like you're just passionate about and you are just here. So yeah, I'm really agree.
You have to be passionate about it, and if you're passionate, you have to try it out. Do not think about the odds or the events, like whether you will make it or not. I'm gonna tell one thing. I remember, I think in 2020, I was trying out for a lot of companies to, specifically I think startups. And I would not get into the, I think 15-20 applications I put down, and all of them would send me out like, you are probably very young, like I'm not graduated yet, you do not have a certain degree, I do not have an experience. But then I believe if you have like a really, really good passion and you are able to show it in public, then that company can take you as an exceptional case and, bring you to the let's say the product or whatever side you're trying to work in, they can definitely accept you. So one major thing I've always said is like learn and build in public. Even if you're learning anything, put it out. If you're building something, put it out, because your work will act as a proof. Even if you do not have a job or you're not working in a certain position, you have your things sorted up in public. People can vouch for you based on that. Just like, let's say you are working in public, you are collaborating with other developers or other people in the community, you are bringing the good out of them. So one day, some person can come and recommend you that this guy is doing super good, and he has really good communication skills, developer skills, right? So that's how things work. Let your work do the networking. You can always network with like limited people in limited time, but your work is like, the more you do it in public, it will multiply. Other people will also help you out.
Yeah, that's really valid points, Vanshika. I just agree to that point, like learning in public. So 2 days back, I just created a space around that, like Twitter space. Like in that space also, we just discussed that I haven't started learning in public. So yeah, recently 1 year back only I just started. So who are the folks who are just watching this video? It's a right time to start learning in public. Like just like tweet, or let's say create content, blogs, whatever it may be, just do it and just share it in public. So it will definitely act as a proof of your work. So yeah, that's really a great point, Vanshika, that you just mentioned. And also I just hear that like even yesterday also I am into the one of the space, like developer relations is more about marketing. Like people used to have this kind of myth, like developer relations
No,
is
not
a,
at all.
yeah. So what's your point on that?
The reason why it is named as developer relations is because developer for the development side, and relations is the relations you keep with things inside the product and outside the product.
Yeah.
So you have to build relations in the community, the support systems. Sometimes with the internal teams also, you have to run a lot of tests. So it depends. Like I would say, DevRel in broad term, you can define some certain responsibilities, but the actual role that you'll be taking up completely depends upon the company or the startup you're working in, because they'll define what are the KPIs for you and what would be the things you'll be working upon. For some other people, DevRel could look something like, they have different responsibilities, and for the rest of it, they can have different responsibilities. Some of them would be driving events also, while some would have community managers doing it. So the difference between community managers are like, they are product focused and community focused, while developers, the DevRels, they also have that development thing. So if you give them the code snippet, they will figure out what's going on. So they also help with the support part of the things.
Yeah, like I just want to ask this question, like this is my personal question. So yeah, for example, let's say if you're just applying for any kind of like a developer role, normal software engineer role, etc., you used to have certain kind of things you just want to put in your resume if you just want to apply, right? So what you just want, like if you are just applying for a developer advocate role, or let's say developer relations role, what, like how the resume should looks like for such roles?
Okay, this one is a tricky question for sure. If you are putting out a resume for our developer relations role, put down the community work you have done, put down the development work you have done. If you have volunteered somewhere for a certain hackathon, you have driven an event also, put those things down. So event, community, supporting an open source project would be a very, very plus point, because people can actually look the work you have done in public through your GitHub also. Personally, I'm like, I sometimes feel very bad, but I have not like really maintained my profile super well. That's one thing to look at. But yeah, for certain, if you are going for a cloud native one, you have to, if you have certain contributions made, that could be both non-code and code contributions. They are equally important. Include those. So I have made non-code contributions more than code contributions. So that's why I'm like saying that my GitHub is not completely maintained, but put down the non-code code contributions, both of it, right? If you create content, could be on Twitter, could be on LinkedIn, or even on YouTube, and let's say the blogging platform. So for DevRels, if you're able to write down things very well, you blog and stuff, it's really good, because that helps your recruiter to understand if the person would be able to write about certain product features, or would be able to talk about it in public in a written format. So having blogs is also very helpful. Yeah, I think that's all that I will recommend. And I think there are certain things like ATS rule, where if people, what they do is like they scan your entire resume and they figure out like if there are certain words in there, and they will shortlist your resume. So you can search out ATS resume and see how things are there.
Yeah, that's really some good points, Vanshika, that you just mentioned.
And also
really
one
appreciate
thing,
that.
people I think they start decorating their resume, like they will have their color scheme and all. Trust me, you just need an MS Word. You can make separated columns for each of the work you have done, your past work experience. But you don't really need to have Canva or anything like color highlighted and super good. The more easily a person is able to read your resume, the better it would be for you and for that person to reach onto common points.
Yeah, that's also one of the good point, Vanshika. You are just an example for like a fresher getting into a developer relations role. So it's not the case for everyone, right? So yeah, how a fresher should like reach out to the recruiters if you just want a developer relations role. Like I just want to continue this question. So they can just take you as an example and they can just go like move forward. But you might have faced some difficulties. You might have faced some like challenges when you're just applying, right? So yeah, what are those challenges so that even a fresher who is just applying for that role will be aware of that and they can just rectify that?
Okay. So number one thing that I would like to mention here is that if you're a fresher first, how would you go about applying for the companies who have open positions? So they usually put down certain requirements, maybe some certain years if that is necessary for a position. What I would recommend is, as a fresher, try for an internship, DevRel internship if there is one, and you can then convert it to full-timer. Apart from that, if you're pretty young or let's say pretty early in the entire, let's say your entire career, right? You're switching your career, then what is important is that you do multiple internships, like 2 to 3 of them, and they would be around management, community side of things. If you're managing community, that will add like a boost in your resume and also in your experience. And supporting an open source project could be any that would also leverage the kind of skills you have. So if you have done these things and then you're applying as a fresher, then it becomes easier for recruiter to understand if you understand the basics of a certain project or of a certain tool, and how have you driven solutions in the past. So community work is something that you can always do, right? You can if you have people join multiple Discord channels. I've always said have top 3 Discord channels that you are actually active in. Like, I think we all know this thing that we join 11, 12 Discord servers all at once, and then we are not able to give them time equally, right? So have that thing in your head that if you're joining Discord, join. Okay, if you feel that you want to join 10, join 10. But be active in top 1 or top 3 based on your priorities, and help out other people without if you, like I'm just telling, if you do not have a community manager internship role or something, do it where you are able to seize that opportunity. I've always said, if you do not get an opportunity, create one. So if you do not get a community manager role, or if you do not have certain experience, go out. There are a lot of communities that need mentors, that need people who can help out other people. The newcomers, that's what I did. For the newcomers in the community, I would always help them out with resources or solving their problems. So take those things down on yourself. Let's say 1 hour every day you're giving time to the newcomers, and you're understanding that what are the problems they are facing in terms of the tool or whatever the community is about, right? So that's one thing to look at. The challenging part is, how do you basically, when you are talking to your recruiter, let's say you're going to go on a first call, how do you make them believe in you? That's a challenge I have faced. So when I did not have a lot of community work, it was slightly difficult for me to tell them that I could really get into this role and take up the responsibility, even though I know myself that I can do it very well. How would they come to know that you can do it really well, right? And there are other people who would have experiences, and then you have to stand out if you want to really make it early, or if you really want to get it as a fresher, you have to stand out because you don't have that 5 or 2+ experiences. So based for that, as I've said, community work or doing it in public would be really good. Another challenge I might have faced is on the technology. So people apply for developer relations role, but they don't know what the kind of technology is being used. Let's say cloud native, it's based on some cloud ecosystem. If you do not know the basics of cloud native, then you have applied, you get on a call and the person asks you some technical question. Let's say how to run a YAML file or what is YAML file, right? You will go blank. You will go blank because you do not know the concept of it. So know the concept of the certain technology and then find out a tool based on that and then apply to that position. Don't go the reverse. Like you go figure out a role first, then you apply it. Then you are just on the day of your interview, you're checking what that particular technology is. How do you use certain things, right?
Yeah.
That will completely show that in your confidence level. The person will always know that if you know about certain technology, and they can always twist and turn and tell you, let's say there is this particular pod, how would you restart it? How would you, shut it down? Anything. Just give me an example of Kubernetes, but yeah, people can understand if you have a certain knowledge. So DevRel requires technical knowledge that does not require a degree. So build your, background in that technology, and then you can apply for it. I took 1 year approximately to start applying for positions which were in API testing, authentication. Then apart from that, I think data on Kubernetes was also one of them. That's the first DevRel intern role that I had did there. So the more you research about technologies and you adopt them or you incorporate them, learn about them, it's more better for you to later on go ahead and join a company based on it.
So yeah, that's really a cool explanation, Vanshika. Now let's get into this open source. So how open source, how it will be useful for that?
Okay. Yeah. So for open source, one thing I can say is, if you are a new learner, if you're from a non-technical background like me, and you want to get started in open source, one thing that you need to learn is Git and GitHub. Git is the version control system commands, and GitHub is it's more of a system, right, where you do things. So you execute those Git commands in the GitHub. That's a hub for the repository. So that's one thing, to learn the basics of Git and GitHub. And apart from that, people start up contributions. There are two things to take care of. Number one, do not start your contributions. If you're very new, do not start contributions in the form of code, because there are certain coding conventions that are part of open source projects, and you do not understand them in that niche code. Sometimes you might raise a PR, open up a PR, and you do it in a wrong way. Or let's say you committed something and it goes into a wrong branch, right? And the entire thing is like being shown, then you have to like undo it and a lot of stuff in there. So take care of that. If you do it from a non-code point of view, it's much more easier to reverse the role, and then that would not affect the other branches and other code snippets. Yeah. So go with non-code contributions. Once you gain that confidence that yes, okay, you will not make mistakes in community in the community of the certain issues or raising a PR, then you can go ahead with the technical side of things, like full code. Apart from that, now comes the part of choosing open source projects. Yeah. So one thing that happens in the community is that people will start recommending, okay, you can contribute to React, you can contribute to Kubernetes and all. These are super big open source projects. Okay? They're like lakhs of people who are contributing, and probably like hundreds of people who are contributing in one single time. So that getting your this thing, whatever issue you have raised will get accepted in one go. That's a very wrong thing to look at. Yeah. Like, be prepared to get rejected if you're doing it in a very huge project. I've always said to explore open source projects. If it's a small scale project, it would be much better, because what happens is that you would not always need to understand everything about the open source project, the back end, the front end, whatever it is, right? You can go on with what that project is about and how you can add things in there. So keep that thing in mind, that the idea of open source project is not to have green squares. It's about more learning. And once you feel that you're confident enough, then you can move on to the big open source project and start contributing there. So that's my take on open source. The more earlier you will start, as I said, the more better would it be for you to maintain that graph also. But again, know where you are contributing and what you are contributing, and how would that impact the community or the people who will get to know. So let's say if a certain project is out there and there's no documentation, then go ahead and talk to that person, the person who is maintaining the project, that, hey, I think I can add some really good value to the community and the open source project by, building a documentation. That would be completely fine. So start taking initiative in open source. People will not come and tell that, hey, this belongs to you, and documentation comes through this point of time. If you feel there's a certain thing you can add or you can suggest, go ahead with it. Don't worry about what people will think about you. Only time you have to think is when you are actually you're trying to commit your code. That is when you have to think about the things.
Yeah, that's some cool mentions, Vanshika. So you've been working remotely for 1 year or 2 years?
From 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. So what's your experience working remotely for an US based startup? So what's that remote work culture? So can you just share about that?
Okay. So talking about the US, like the remote thing, right? That began this very year, but previously also I worked remotely for the startup. And talking about experiences, it's pretty good. I felt some days I was very productive at my home, but the other days I wanted to meet people also. So remote work culture is superb, but I also think that, the point where you can actually go to your office or like meet other people is also really nice. So now the thing is, even though things have started working out, I'm still I'm working from India, right? And the good thing is I can travel along with my work.
Yeah.
So that gives me a flexibility to meet new people. And I think we with Weaver, I did an event for Bangalore, Weave Bangalore, and that was a very first in-person event that we did in India. So that was really, really great experience, and we could see other people, we could meet other people in the community, talk about community growth, product side of things. So remote work culture is really good. And apart from that, I feel that because you have a remote work culture, you can bring in the diversity. So let's say I come from a certain part of the India or certain part of anything, right? Like the country or city. You can always meet other people also, because you get on calls with them, you go on with meetings with them, right? And maybe your clients will also be from different side of places. So that is the kind of flexibility that a remote work culture provides you. And my experience has been really pretty good. There are days I've missed my office or the people that I work with, but then the rest of the days it's really good, highly productive if you really know how to manage or schedule your day. So it comes up for the remote work culture.
Yeah. So what's the timing that you're just working? Like, for example, let's say if you are just working remotely, there will be a timing clash, right? So how can we manage that?
Yeah, most of the companies, they have a number of hours that you have to work each day. Now, this could depend on you, but then there are certain meetings that you will have to take on the pre-decided time zone or like pre-decided time. So you would have to prepare for that mentally, that there might be calls that you would have to take at 8 a.m. in the morning because it's 8 p.m. somewhere else or 7 p.m. somewhere else, right, for them. And it might be late at night also if you're doing certain events that goes pretty late at night. So that's something that because of the COVID already, there were so many conferences that were happening online. That thing came very natural to me, that taking up calls late at night or early in the morning was pretty normal. But then again, the good thing is like people know about your time and they respect that. Yeah. So you can always choose to work as per your time. That's a good thing. And that is why I say that if you're into remote work culture and you have your job, you have your degree also, it's really good. Let's say for 5 hours you're into college and the rest of the time you can go and work your things off, right? In the office or something. So that's a good thing. Time management is a very important thing when it comes to remote work culture or the startup you're working in. There might be time you would have to schedule things based on other people's recommendation, but the rest of it, I think most of the time you can choose what time to what time you would be available. The numbers of hours should be fulfilled most of people have 5 or 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that. So fulfill those hours, and I think the rest is good to go.
Like you just mentioned, time management is important. Like when you are in college, doing some extra things like community work, internships, full-time roles. Yeah, right. So yeah, how you just manage your time? I'm curious to know that.
Okay, how do I manage my time? People ask me this all the time. How do you manage things together? And I have no clue. That how does this comes? Like, I do not have a proper, super, like, everything decided as per my schedule. There are days I would have to push other meetings out, just like this one, and like not being able to make it the right time. So based on priorities, I have to take up some task. Sometimes there are things that need to be done within a span of time. So time management is more of a skill rather than a task, I would believe, because once you master it, you can manage your time based on any kind of situation, and that will help you out. That will help you through your entire life, right? So what I have mostly seen, based on traveling from the past few months, I would reach an airport more early than the prescribed time, and I would work from airport. So work from car, work from airport, sometimes even restaurant also. The last time I was like sitting in front of a beach and working. So
Yeah,
how do
saw that.
you manage to do the things that you love? Like you're enjoying your time, or like you're also resting, but at the same time you're also not off from your office. So I did a workation actually, and that is where I learned the time management most, because I would have trains to take, I would have buses to take, I would have cars to take, and how would I manage my things? So like, you figure out things as per your schedule. So I do not decide things like day before or something like that. The day it comes, I'm like, okay, these are the tasks that I have to do, and how would I put it on the priorities? If I have something which has to be soon, I would put it into the very important list. So learn how to prioritize things based on how would they be impacting your entire day. That's more of a skill, as I've said.
Yeah. So, and yeah, in Twitter, some of them have asked a few questions, like you just mentioned in that thread, right? Yeah, so let's try to answer that. So yeah, this is the question asked by Naitik. So yeah, the question is, so why US appreciate more Indian developers? I guess
Okay. Oh my God, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
So two things that I believe why US companies like to have more Indians, or let's say the people from here into the companies, because we come with some skills that is like out of these situations, right? We have more practicality. I believe Indian people have this amazing mind. I'm not saying it's bad to the US folks or anything like that. The skill set that people will carry forward from here is a different one. Some people will have like multiple degrees, right? While in the US, I think you would have to fulfill certain norms. Like it's not allowed to have 2 degrees all at once, and they have different working norms. So if you are acquiring a certain fresh kind of talent, and that requires certain years of experience, so that thing might not be available in US, but in India, because people can have double degrees, or people can have more different sort of experiences. So they like preferring Indians. And also I believe the skills, right? Talking about those, there's a little like slightly diversity present in the culture. That is what my perception is. Like to have different nationalities in part of your country will make your entire company more diverse, more secular also.
And the other question is from Hari. So this is a pretty long question. Hari, yeah.
Okay.
Like, can a diploma in CS grad has done BTech also in India, but if he wants to come to USA to masters, can he come? Like once if he just done a diploma, like if he just want to come to masters, is it good or not? So that's the question he's asking.
Okay. I cannot really answer this particular question like exactly, because I myself do not know how degrees would work out in US. It depends on what kind of degree you have done, your work experience, and also the number of years a certain degree is. So like for me, if I what I know is that I have a 3-year degree course, so I would probably have to do one more diploma here to apply for masters. But then if you want to work outside, you might get a visa sponsorship from a company if it's really, really good. So let's say you made it into Google or Amazon, or let's not talk about FANG. Let's say, I mean, it's not FANG anymore, it's FANG actually. So if there's a certain startup with a certain company who's ready to sponsor you visa for a work purpose, you can go there and your work experience would count. So, every college or every university has a different norm, but most of them, I think they have like, you should have a 4-year degree background. So if you're doing a BTech, you can probably go for your master's and then apply for a job. But if you're a 3-year degree course, you would probably have to take up 1 more year of diploma and then go ahead and take a master's. So some masters only long for 12 months, which is a good thing, because in India, the masters are double of what is there in US. So you can complete your education more early and then get onto your job aspect of things. Yeah. Again, this is not an exact data. What I know, that's what I'm sharing. But definitely check out the university you're trying to apply or the place you're trying to go for. And everybody, I think they have a different norm to take care of.
Yeah, those are the 2 questions that I just got in that thread, Vanshika. So yeah, that's pretty much about this.
I think there's a person. Okay, that's Hari only, right? Yeah, got it.
Like he just asking another question, like he just finished 10th and he just confused whether he just want to go to what to do, like to go to masters. So that's what the question he's just asking. Yeah, I think you have answered it.
One thing I just Hari, if you would be watching the video in the future aspect of time, don't think about masters straight away. You never know what you want to do after 3-4 years after you do a certain course. So if you think that masters is one thing to look at, and then based on that you're taking diploma or something like that, then that would be a very different thing. I remember I did this thing. I want to do MBA. Okay, it's a very like a personal story. I wanted to do an MBA in IIM, and I thought I come from a commerce background. So if I have to make it there, I probably need to have a CSCS as my professional, background, and then it would be much more easier to crack at and then get into interviews. Over time, when pandemic actually hit, I realized that would I be able to deal of 5 years of something which I do not like doing, right? So basically, I was like denying myself that what I actually wanted to do. So trust me, if there's something that you like doing, do that more than figuring out what degree you would be able to take and what city you want to move. Because trust me, eventually, if you're doing something that you like, you will land up to a certain place or certain company, no matter what. If you're hardworking, if you take care of the challenges aspect and how do you, how do you notice them exactly? How do you handle them? You would definitely make it up. You don't have to do masters only because you want to go to US. There are different ways to go US. Let's say you have certain years of work. Also, you can apply for work visa there directly, right? Yeah. So that's a different thing, nationality and how every country is working out on that. But then don't take a degree as a pathway to make it to a country like US or Canada.
Yeah, I think he got his answer. So yeah, like one final thing, like before wrapping up, like one final thing that you just want to mention.
Sure. I think again, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. I love doing collaboration videos because I feel that I'm able to put out a part of me to public and help them out. That's also like building in public. That's the thing. And apart from that, the only thing I'll say is, if there's something that you're trying to achieve into the tech space, focus on the problem and the solution more than if there is your own growth. Because if you're focused on problem and bringing up a solution, eventually the growth would be part of the process. You will grow, so will the community, so will the product too. So be focused on the solution more than achieving something personally. And when you are more sort of like, if you're a giver to a community, you will always get it back, but don't expect it. So give out as much as you can, and then eventually there will be things that will start turning up on your side also. Maybe not today, maybe not for a year or so, but you never know when community can actually come and help you. These are the people who will be your true motivator. You will every day, if you have one community or so, every day you will feel to do something really good for them. Like the days you don't want to do something for yourself, you want to do it for others. So be honest to them. Do not like get the content, some else's content somewhere and post it out. Be very respectful to the content that has already been out, right? Collaborate with people, contribute, and never disrespect people. Never get biased because of someone's background. That's something I've felt, that people were sometimes biased that okay, someone should have an engineering degree, someone should not have an engineering degree, like that. Trust me, degrees are just proof. They're just the paperwork. Your skills are going to speak for you. The coming time is about your skills, about your management. And I think management is such a thing which everyone has to learn, no matter where you're coming from. So learn how to manage, how to do time management, how to do project management, how to be empathetic also in the community, because you are handling people. People have emotions who are learning knowledge, who are being together. So I think those are the last words I would say for this particular podcast, aka YouTube video also. And if there's anything that you would like to ask in public. The reason being, if you ask me DM, I can probably not take that question up because there are so many questions. But if you ask in public, maybe I would be able to answer them, take some time out for it. And you might be asking the same question that others might have. So you're also helping out the community to get an answer. So ask in public, learn in public, and build in public. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, that's really great, Vanshika. Pleasure having you in my podcast. And yeah, it's been a great discussion. You just shared your amazing journey and your experiences, your learnings, everything. Yeah, it's been pleasure having you here.